Okay, great. Welcome everyone. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, G88. So, this is going to be a Q&A session where, if someone wants to come up on the mic, you're free to do that. You want to send a chart which you think was a loss and you didn't really quite understand why it happened, you can do that. So, I've decided to keep it at like open mic, something like open mic. So you're free to come on the mic, ask question. Oh, there we go. Let's see this over here. Good morning. Hey, good morning. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Private messages. Guys, please refrain from private messages because, I want everyone else to look at the messages as well. Yes, I'm in the office on Sunday. Whenever a secure 40 to 50 pip, the price moves about 150 to 200 pips. And if I decide to let the runners on get stopped out, this is affecting my psychology, how to deal with it. So this is a very simple thing. Like it's very normal. It happens like whenever you secure positions, you see that the price will continue on running like, 150 to 200 pips. And every time when you're going to try to um, let the positions run, more often than not, you will be stopped out. This happens, it's very normal. But the thing is, you have to understand is this: there's always a probability that price will continue on pushing. There's always a probability. There have been so many times when I have tried to let positions run, and they come back and I get stopped out at break even or get stopped out at like a minor loss. Very few times price has actually ran in my favor. And when I do post it, I post it multiple times, so it just seems like it's happening all the time. So that's one thing. And then the number two thing that I would advise you to do is to, whenever you think that price will continue on running, let like 10-15% of the position run. And whenever you don't think that price will continue on running, even then let like 10 to 15% of the positions run. Because what's going to happen is you're going to start to build confidence in your ability to hold positions. And then you're going to try to say that, okay, you know what? I'm letting my positions run, let's say 80% of the time. And out of those 80%, maybe 20 or 30% of the positions, they continue on to run. So that's something you're going to understand over time. So it's very important. I know it affects your psychology, but that's the only way to deal with it is to actually let them run and make notes that, okay, what's the probability of the positions I'm letting run and how much of them are actually running. So let's say, for example, if you let 10 positions run, maybe four or three or four will continue on running to 150 to 200 pips. I've seen many times 15-minute time frame impulse entry. I have stop out and I've focused on 30-minute. I have seen many times I miss move. What do I do? So you're missing moves on the 30-minute time frame and you're executing on the 15-minute impulse entries. I would still say focus on the 30-minute. And if you are missing on the 30-minute, let's see if I can find a chart, something here in the chart. Let's see if we can find something here in the chart. So this is a 30-minute. Okay, so let's see. Okay, let's just remove all these analysis. Wow, price did continue pushing up here on Friday. Okay, let's remove all this. And let's see if we can find something on the chart. Okay, so see this 30-minute candle, it moved up above 33.34. Let's take a look at this on the 15-minute time frame. 15-minute candle also continued to push up. Yeah. So the main thing is, to answer your question, is that you need to look at these scenarios and you need to kind of explain to yourself how you could have gotten a trade. So for example, right, we had this resistance here, and this is something I was looking at it myself as well, right? So we had this resistance. Of course, I missed the move. Otherwise, I would have posted it. Would have been a great 200 pip move. Now, looking at the 30-minute, if we focus on this, you can see very, very clearly that there was a resistance. There was a resistance at 33.3333, right? This 30-minute candle, it closed below resistance, and the next 30-minute candle just continued pushing up with a lot of volume. Okay, awesome. So if you're waiting for the 30-minute candle to close, if you're waiting for a 30-minute impulse entry, then that's something you have missed. You missed out on that. Now Now, let's say you've missed this move. Now we're going to go to the 15-minute time frame and we'll try to explain to ourselves how could we have taken this trade. So if we look on the 15-minute, we're like, okay, this makes sense now. The 15-minute candle broke and closed above resistance. The next 15-minute candle, it wicked down, broke above the high, and then continued to push up. So maybe this was an impulse entry scenario where your stop would have been, wow, 57 pip stop, and then you're looking at price to continue to push up. Let me take a look at this on the 5-minute. What was this? 1445. Let's see here. 1445, wick down. Let's take a look at this on the 1-minute time frame. Uh, let's see here. So 1445. Oh, wow, look at that. 1-minute wick down and then moved up. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, right? How to control overtrading when I'm in a loss? To control overtrading is very simple. Please focus on 1 or 2 trades a day. That's the best way to control overtrading. When market goes 6 candles sell, then 1 rejection candle, this color is red. Next candle break high, then I took buy valid. चौधरी इरफान चौधरी इरफान साहब आप पता क्या करें आप भेजें चार्ट एक चौधरी इरफान. Sir, would you give us a written trading plan that we can follow? I cannot give you a trading plan. I can tell you about my trading plan, but I can't tell you to follow my trading plan because the way I manage risk is different. The way I do dynamic entries, dynamic risk, static risk, it's all different. Well, it's not much different, but okay, here's the thing about the trading plan, right? I believe that everyone can create a solid trading plan. I believe everyone can have a trading plan. If you just follow the trading plan, you're going to be profitable. But the problem is, not a lot of traders are accepting to follow the trading plan. Not a lot of you want to follow a trading plan. It's just like, when you go to the gym, you have a great workout routine and you don't want to follow the workout routine. You don't want to follow what you eat. Trading plan is exactly the same thing. Everyone, I swear to God, when we started Market Future University, we had about 100 traders submitted their trading plans. And all those trading plans were profitable trading plans. But the problem is not a lot of people are willing to follow through with their trading plans. Some scholars say Forex is haram. What can I do? Don't listen to them. Please record. If not, yes, it's recording. What the session time will be in different seasons? The fuck kind of question is that? What session time will be in different seasons? What do you mean by that? Very confused, mentor. When to use 30-minute, when to use 15-minute in this type of market circumstances. See, this is something which you will understand with experience. Okay? Because there's no rule that's going to tell you that, okay, now we have to look at the 15-minute. There's no rule that's going to tell you now you have to look at the 30-minute or even 1 hour. It's just something that's going to come naturally to you. For example, if you're focused on the 30-minute, okay, look, if I'm looking at the 30-minute, I'm keeping in mind the 1 hour time frame, I'm keeping in mind the 30-minute time frame, and I'm keeping in mind the 15-minute time frame. I'm keeping all these in my mind that, okay, you know what, like anything can happen within these time frames. So I have to keep this in mind. For example, if you look at the 15-minute time frame now, you can see how we are basically coming down to the support area. And obviously there is a resistance on the top right over here. So if we look on the 30-minute time frame, it seems to me that this support area is also valid on a 30-minute time frame, but we just have to wait to see how the market is going to open. If the market will open below 33.57, then maybe there's a high probability we can continue down to correct this move. But if we will open above 33.57, then we're basically just consolidating between 33.66 and 33.57 in this 90 pip range, right? And then we'll have to see whether we can break above 33.67 or not for price to continue to push up. Oh wow, look at that. So to the left-hand side, we have all this beautiful range where price can come into. all this beautiful, gorgeous range. Yeah, this will be great. This will be great if we can come up to over here. How big is this? Maybe like 300 pips? 400 pips. Wow, pretty big. At one stage after profits, greed overtakes and the account gets squared off. Yeah, that's very normal. This is a discussion I was having with one of my good friends, and we were talking about, like, let's say if you end your day with a $20 win, right? If you end your day with a $20 win and your account is, let's say, a $40,000 account or $30,000 account, your mind cannot accept that $20 win on this big account. So automatically, very naturally, you're going to think that, okay, you know what? Instead of this $20, I need $2,000. And then you're going to start to chase that $2,000, but you have to understand this. In the industry, it's said that 95% traders fail, which means 95% traders will end their day in a negative. So even if you are profiting $20 in that day, this means you are in the top 5% traders who won that day. You need to understand this. If you end your day with a $20 win, $30 win, or $5 win, you're in the top 5% traders who won against the banks, institutions, hedge funds, algorithms, and against other traders. And you're profitable. When I end my day with like a $200 win or like a $300 win, I'm happy with that. Even though I have like a $500,000 account, I'm still happy with the gain that I made because I know and I have been through this, that if I'm gonna end my day with a $40 win, and now if I'm gonna say that no, Raja, this is not enough, you need $4,000 or you need at least $500. For me to chase that amount, I can guarantee you that I will end up losing not even those profits, but also more from my balance. 100%. This happens all the time. All the time used to happen to me. So then I had to stop it. I had to stop that. Some days ago, you took a trade in Asian session in Hong Kong after 8:30 a.m. IST, Asian session, high volume timing, please. Yeah, so that was high volume time at that point. Like I saw that. I saw that as like, there's a potential move happening. Let me see this over here. Was it this one? On the 20th, right? On my birthday. I think it was this one right over here, where we broke above the high. I'm not too sure, but it has to be this one. There's only one trade I took, and it was on my birthday. Yeah, there's only one trade I took in Hong Kong. Yeah, it was on my birthday right over here. Right here, I took this trade. Okay. Given the candle volume is high, what's the ideal stop loss size? Above or below the previous candle. If you think the pip is too big, then you have to lower your lot size. Yes, intuition Mendika comes with experience. And Mendika is one of those highly profitable traders we have in the group who can agree to the fact that intuition is something you cannot teach. All right, let's take a look at this chart. I took this trade with lower risk, but can I ask that this trade is available or not? Okay, let's take a look at this chart over here. You send two charts. Oh, please open the link. Yeah, open the link, bro. So we'll take a look at that. Sir, trading session times change with the season. Could you? No, man. Trading sessions time don't change with the season. What problem have you put yourself into? Just get out of that issue. Session times don't change with the seasons. Session times change with daylight savings, and you can Google that. Don't what's this? Like in spring, the session time is gonna be different. As a beginner trader, what I focus on waiting for candles close and impulse. Oh yeah. So as a beginner trader, it's very important to wait for the candles to close. And I'm going to tell you why. When you wait for the candles to close as a beginner trader, you are training your mind to wait for the candle closing, right? Sometimes what's going to happen is that you see this right over here. Sometimes what's going to happen is that price will start to move. And if you're not waiting for the candle to close, you will think that this will continue to push up. You will take a buy, and then you will get stuck in a drawdown. That's what's going to happen. You will, when you're waiting for the candles to close, you are not allowing yourself to enter with haste, which means you're not allowing yourself to enter a trade just because you see a candle moving, because you're waiting for the candle to close. There has been so many times where I have thought that price will go in my favor. And I said, Raja, wait for the candle to close. I waited for the candle to close, and the candle formed in the opposite direction. And I was like, wow, thank you so much. I waited for the candle to close. And then what's going to happen is sometimes as you're waiting for the candles to close, candle will continue moving, you know, just like right over here. You see this right here, right? Candle's moving. You're waiting for the candle to close so you can take a buy so we can fill this wick, right? Hypothetically speaking. But candles continue to move, continue to move. You've missed the move, right? When you've missed the move, that's good because now you're going to be forced to look at the chart and you're going to say, okay, you know what? I missed this move. How could I have applied the concepts which I have learned in market fluidity? And then you're going to say, okay, impulse entries is something I could have implied right over here. As the candle was breaking the high, respecting the low, wick to fill, maybe this was a good opportunity to take a buy with impulse entry. And you're going to make a note, mental note, or whatever note you're going to make that note. And when you see this happen over and over again, it's very natural. Then you're going to start to attack impulse entries. It's very natural. It's going to happen naturally. Oh, I took a sell. Um, oh, then maybe was this one right here on Monday. This was Monday. My birthday was Tuesday. Then it was this one right over here. Oh yeah, I remember that I also drew this thing too. We created resistance, candle wicked up, broke the low, took the sell, price went down. Yes, I remember this. I remember this one right over here. As a beginner trader, how long time to become you as a trader? I said it took me a year. For some people, it takes them 6 months, 3 months. Depends on discipline, to be honest. For me, I'm finding the correct resistance and support, but at some point it gets broken and price goes in my favor. How to sort out this? Well, price goes in your favor. So always look at the chart and ask yourself, how could you have taken that trade? Like, for example, this one right over here, right? If you guys remember on Friday, I was waiting for this. I was waiting for this. 3338 target for buys. If price breaks above 333, what happened? We broke above 3333. We moved to 3338. And I missed this move. And I just did a breakdown of how I could have, captured this move. That's all what you can do. How to manage leverage, use smaller lots. Okay, Kelvin, let's take a look at this over here. All right. Okay, so this is gold. M15 formed a high in okay. M15 formed minor resistance, okay. M15 minor resistance in the last 2-3 minutes, okay. M15 closed above minor resistance with no top wick, that's correct. Lower wick broke the high in the last 5 minutes. Lower wick broke the high, but small body, okay. Let's take a look at this chart over here. A small body candle, creating a lower wick, broke the high. Yeah, but the body's a small impulse entry in trend. Okay. So see this right over here? This is not an example of impulse entry in trend because there's no wick on the top. Over here as well, there's a wick on the top, but this candle needs to break the high of the previous candle for it to be an impulse entry in trend. I do think this was a good entry right here, down at the bottom. Wick down, break the high, you got this range over here. Once the next candle created a lower wick and broke the high in the last 5-minute candle, I took a buy, assumed that time does not matter as you have 30-minute confirmation. Yeah, you manage your risk, so that's good. That's good. You manage your risk. Broke the high, yeah, but the candle body formed small. It was a small candle body. You needed a stronger candle body. How to figure out starting of a consolidation by reading a candle? You can't. Unless the candle body closes small. If you have a small candle body closing and you're in a trade, I will automatically close 50%. Automatically. I'm not even going to try to attempt to be in the trade because the candle body is getting smaller. You want big, solid candle body. The thing about, trading, scalping, whatever it is that, okay, so at least that's how I think, right? I think that if I enter a trade on a 30-minute candle, that same 30-minute candle should continue to go in profits. It should continue to go in profits. If that candle closes with a small body, or if it closes something that I don't like or I don't recognize, I'm out of that trade. I close 50%. I don't care where it goes after that. I'm out of that trade because I want candle to go in my favor ASAP. Do you think we can bring back the trade breakdown videos? Yes. Yes, I think we should do for every trade a trade breakdown. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. Hope you are doing well. I've seen you in trading London session and after taking MFU uni lectures and stuff, which was a great decision ever I took. I learned that London session is a bit stable for gold in New York. That's correct. As a starter, would you recommend me doing trading NY session or should I stick to London session? My business hours doesn't allow me to focus on London session. What's your recommendation? So, Omar, thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate it. You run a business. That's absolutely fantastic. So you know about the ups and downs. You know about the risk you have to take. If your business does not allow you to trade a London session, I don't want you trading London session. I would want you to trade a session that does not interfere with your daily life. That is very important. Oh, wow. Who's this? Mr. Indra Kant Kumar. Indra, man, I've been looking at your picture and I'm thinking, wow, this guy is sitting in his chair just watching the webinar. And then I'm still watching and watching. And I'm like, he isn't moving at all. And then I realize it's a picture. I realize it's a picture. Wow. All this time I'm thinking, wow, he's very attentive listening to me. Man, who knows you're shirtless laying down in bed. But yeah, that's the thing. If your business only allows you to trade New York session, just focus on New York session. You don't have to focus on London session because I trade the London session or some other guy trades in London session. Just the thing is this, right? You look at your daily life and in your daily life, look to see what time of the day do you have time. And if that time is, let's say, New York session, that's it. Trade the New York session. You don't have to do anything else. When you come to charts for trading, do you have a bias? If yes, no, I don't have a bias. So, for example, let's do an example over here. For example, let's choose a random chart. Let's choose GBP USD, right? Let's do this over here. Okay, so it's gonna load. Oh, this is weekly. Wow, look at that. Look at those dates, 2019. Okay, anyway. Let's start from the daily, zoom in. Okay. So now looking at the daily, daily is moving up. So automatically I'm going to tell myself that, okay, like, you know what, daily is bullish. Okay, great, awesome. Daily is bullish. Now, if the daily is bullish, this means I need to see some sort of a support on the 30-minute or the 1 hour time frame. So then I'm going to go to the 4-hour time frame. Now I'm heading down to the 4-hour time. 4 hours also bullish. And if I think that this bullish will continue, I need to look for supports on 30-minute and 1 hour time frame. Awesome. Looking at the 1 hour time frame. Now that I'm looking at the 1 hour time frame, I see some market structure forming, probably a support over here. And looks like this candle is closing small. Maybe it's creating some sort of resistance. I don't know. We'll take a look at the 30-minute time frame. Looking at the 30-minute time frame, now I see some sort of a resistance forming, right? I see a resistance forming, and let me scale fix this over here. Okay, and then also I see some sort of a minor support forming right here. Awesome. Let's take a look on the 15-minute time frame. Looking at the 15-minute time frame, I can see that, oh, wow, look, we are basically consolidating over here now. So the daily bias was bullish. The 4-hour was bullish. 1 hour was bullishish. And now the 30-minute, 15-minute are consolidating. So if I think that price will continue with the higher time frame bias, I need price to break above. What's this price? 1.35400. If we can break above 1.35400, then there's a possibility for price to continue to push up. Okay. If price breaks below 1.35270, then there's a possibility for price to push down. And if we do push down, I think we have this range till here, 1.35000, we can push down. So if we do break below this area, then does the higher time frame bias still holds true? Does it or does it not? Depends on what time frame you're trading on. If you're trading based on the 30-minute, 15-minute, 1 hour time frame, then according to me, this is going to be a sell within that time. Overall, we may just break down, grab retracement and go up. Overall, that may be the case. Like, I mean, if we look on the daily, if you look on Friday, if you remember what we talked about on Friday, we talked about on Friday very clearly that there's a possibility that this daily candle will fill this wick, right? But if you look on the smaller time frames now, and if we look to see what actually happened, look at this, right? This was our resistance. Our support was, like somewhere right over here. Price broke up, retraced, and then continued to push up. If price will follow the higher time frame and it will complete the trend on the higher time frame, always remember on the lower time frame, you will have retracements, you will have rejections. And for someone like me, maybe these rejections is that small trade that I'm willing to take going against the higher time frame trend. It just depends on what move are you seeing in your specific time frame. That's all about it. The high time frame daily 4 hour can be bullish, but the small time frames can tell you that, hey, for a little while we may go down. So those are things you need to keep in mind. I notice you use Market Edge AI, but can you please explain what to check on? To be honest, in Market Edge AI, I only use a few things, and MRAT, Market Edge AI. I only use Market Edge AI for like, news events. That's it. That's all what I use it for. News events, what's happening, blah blah blah, and like, that's about it. That's all what I look for. Um, See economies, you got equities, you have currency. Yeah. Wow. Look at this dashboard. Pretty good. Pretty good dashboard. Anyway, what's this? When I lose 2 to 3 trades in a row, after I lose my confidence to take the next day, even if it looks valid, any suggestion to build the confidence? Yeah. So I would say maybe if you take 1 or 2 trades and you lose, let's say 2 trades, 3 trades, always understand how much are you willing to risk in a day. If in a day you're willing to risk, let's say like $100 and you've lost $100, that's fine. You followed your plan. Then you can come back the next day and execute the same way. But if you've lost more than $100, then that's a problem because now you've lost more than you plan on losing. So my whole plan is this: if I'm going to be willing to lose $100 in a day, and if I lose less than $100, then I give myself props by saying that, okay, you know what, Raja, you're doing good today. So confidence is something you need to build with smaller lot sizes as well. Is there any alternative to MT5 Simulator from Mac? Because it's a Windows software, I'm having trouble to download and can't able to back it properly on TradingViews. Thank you. Muhammad Abdul, I think the best thing to do is to get parallels. I have parallels for Mac. I have this thing called Parallels, and it's absolutely fantastic. Wow, look, it's $65 a year. I use it every day, literally every day. After focusing on one 30-minute, sometimes the next 30-minute goes in my direction, and sometimes goes to my entry and gets stopped out. What to do in this scenario? Um, if price goes back to your entry, if price goes back to your entry and you're getting scared, close 80% and leave the rest running. And sometimes price will go in your favor. Sometimes it's going to come back to your entry. But it depends what you're going to do when it comes back to your entry. Will you close the whole position by getting scared? or will you close 80% and leave the rest running? Looks like pre-London volume is lower than London open volume. I'm just switching to trading the 3-4 hour candle from 4 hour candle and just getting into trade during pre-London London open. What do you think? We can take a trade? Yes, you can. Can I open a trade at pre-London volume or wait? Yeah, you can. It's not like pre-London will have less volume and London Open will have more volume. Both sessions can have equal amounts of volume. Sometimes, you know, pre-London can have sometimes pre-London can have more volume than London Open, and sometimes London Open can have more volume than pre-London. You can't you can't really pinpoint at this time this volume is going to be more, this volume is going to be high. You can't say that. For me, I when I w- I'm mostly focusing on pre-London. Lately, I've been looking at Asian session as well because there's been volume at that time, but mostly I'm focused on pre-London and London Open. Sometimes pre-London comes with great volume, and sometimes London Open comes with great volume. So you just have to get more experience in that. Nowadays, going a little safe on okay, and I target minimum 1 to 1. And when market goes in my favor, when I close profit on 1 to 0.8 or 1 to 0.7. Okay, so what's the question? I mean, that's good, right? What's the question? Can you please explain how to use Market Edge AI for trading Bold and GJ? No. Market Edge AI is not a tool for you to tell you where price will go. It's just an information tool. Market Edge AI is a strictly information-based tool that will literally help you see what's happening in the macroeconomic arena. Like, let's say I want to search what? Trump. Search Trump. It's going to give me all the news about Trump. That's it. It's going to tell you where the market is going to go based on the high time, the daily, 4 hour, weekly, and then it's up to you looking at the technical analysis to see what's really happening. So I use this for like news events, like with equity, like let's say if I go to gold and I click on this right over here, it's just gonna generate some analysis here for me. So I mean, just using Market Edge AI for information purposes, that's it. I mean, look at this, right? 1 hour trend bullish, daily bullish, weekly bullish, and it's telling you exactly what's causing it to go bullish, and stuff like that. So that's what I use Market Edge AI. Oh, you couldn't see it. All right, hold on. Yeah, see this right over here. So if I go to gold, I go to the currencies, I go to equities over here, I click on the brain, and it's going to show me, right, like 1 hour bullish, daily bullish, weekly bullish, and basically what's causing price to stay bullish because there's a lot of risk out there, which is what's causing it to do that. But I absolutely don't use it to trade. Can you please explain? Okay, MT5 simulator useful for beginner trader. Can MT5 simulator build confidence? Yes, MT5 simulator is amazing. Do you recommend to trade on bank holidays? Tomorrow is bank holiday in the UK. I don't recommend you to trade on bank holiday, but as far as it stands, I have seen a lot of volume on bank holidays. So sometimes, there's volume in bank holidays. Like, what can you do? Let's see here. Tomorrow, oh wow, okay. What's this? Why is the USD bank holiday? What's this? Oh, Memorial Day. Okay. And pound is spring holiday. No problem. Let's take a look on Tuesday. Tuesday, nothing going on. Wednesday, we have FOMC meetings. Otherwise, nothing going on. Interest rates for New Zealand. Man, there was a time I was trading New Zealand interest rates and I was losing money every time. That's so stupid. Okay, nothing happening on Thursday, Friday. Should be easy week. Easy week. Um, Talking about managing risk, please. I have seen the videos, also want something fresh from you. What fresh do you want from me? I mean, I can only tell you what I did. Um, I can only tell you what I did. Like, so there was this sell. I took 38 lot sell. Yeah, it was done right over here. We had a resistance, we had a support, looking at the 15-minute time frame, and see this right over here. So I took a sell right here, and no, I took a sell right here as this candle broke this low. I took a sell, and price went up as price broke above its own high. No, as the candle was about to close, I closed 50%. Look, I closed 19 lots. What the hell is this? I don't know what you're writing, but I stopped you in your tracks. I closed 90%, and as the next candle broke above the high, I closed another, I closed the full position. So total loss was 6,800. Risk was about 11,000. Can I ask that as a beginner trader to become profitable trader, how many percentage profit to make? Okay. So you don't need to focus on how much percentage you need to make in a month or in a week. Don't focus on that. That's a recipe for disaster. And let me tell you why. Let's say, for example, you're focusing on 5% a month, and let's say you got 1 day left for the month to end, and you're sitting at 4%. Now you're going to be pressured to make that extra 1% so it looks good on your books, so it looks good on that Excel sheet that you're making, maybe. So what I tell guys is that focus on winning a trade. Focus on having a win. Because if you can focus on having a winning trade, then all you have to do is to replicate that same trade. Focus on winning first. When you focus on winning for month, 2 to 3 months, then naturally, it's going to be very natural that you're going to start to look at percentage wins. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be very natural. You're going to start to look at those things. But in the beginning, I don't advise anyone to look at a certain percentage, in a week or in a month. Question is, in one of your videos, you said if daily is bullish, but 1 hour, 4 hours is bearish, take a sell and go with the flow. No, I never said that. I said if the daily is bullish and if the 1 hour is bearish, don't take a sell. Look for a resistance to form and then take a sell. Or look for a support to be broken and then take a sell. You see how words can confuse people? Okay. However, in one of your sessions, you said to check the trend on high time frame, find support resistance accordingly, take the. Yes, exactly. So when I'm saying go against the trend, what I'm referring to is counter trend trading. Okay, that's what I'm referring to. I'm referring to counter trend. For example, right over here, trend was bullish on all time frames. So this was a counter trend trade. Did it work out? No. But later it did? Yes. Should we stick to high time frame? Yeah, so you should stick to the high time frame trend and to look for confirmations in that trend. If you want to trade the counter trend, or if you want to go against the high time frame trend, then I think it's better to look for counter trend opportunities. I trade Asian session. I mark 4 hour support resistance levels with 1 hour with green, 30-minute with blue. Then I try to take buy, sell, 30-minute confirmation, stick to like this. Yeah. Just see what your profitability is. Why do you have a scar on your eye? What happened? That's irrelevant to your success. You said don't change your bias, but if you took buy on 30-minute support confirmation, next candle break support, close below support, fake out, then we can take a sell. No. In the beginning, if you're a beginning trader, I do not recommend that you change your bias. Always keep the same bias, because there has been multiple times where I have agreed to take a buying bias. I've taken a buy, and the buy maybe didn't work out in that case, and price starts to go down. I've taken a sell, and then price actually went in my buy, in my favor. So I've lost 2 trades by changing my buy. So now I keep my bias the same unless there is an irrefutable proof that my bias is wrong. Is there any free MT5 simulator? No. Yeah, UTM, I think. Yeah, I guess UTM. You told not to change the bias, but I encountered a situation last week where my bias was sell, but there was a perfect technical indication. Yes, so that's exactly what I talked about. Should we focus on one 30-minute, or can we hold which is more profitable and safer? focus on 1 30-minute, but also look for what's going to be a good confirmation candle. I'm very patient and scared when I'm in a trade. Okay, I quickly exit when price goes 15 to 20 pips in my favor. Okay, Purav Patel. So when price goes in 15 to 20 pips in your favor, you are acting like how I acted like back 6 7 years ago. So what I did was, was this. What I would do is I would close 80% and then I would leave the rest running. Because it's not like you are scared, because fear comes from lack of confidence. That's all what fear comes from. It comes from having less confidence, right? So you need to build your confidence in holding trades. If you go in 15, 20 pip profits, close 80%. Just close 80% and leave the rest running. That's it. And if it goes in 60, 70, 80 pips, then your confidence is going to be higher. And then sooner or later, you're going to be letting bigger positions run. Oh, my bad. This is a chart right over here. This is a chart right over here. So this is what I was talking about, that I took an entry right here, 15 minute candle was about to close with small body. I closed 50%. And the next candle broke above the high, so I closed another 50%. Yeah, my bad. Let me just share the whole screen instead of, oh yeah, now we're sharing the whole screen. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. Please walk us through the sell you took in Hong Kong candle by candle on 30-minute. What was in your mind? How you decided to take sell when price was in bullish trend? So this was okay. So there was a gap, right? There's a gap. Price went up, came down, went up, created resistance, and then we had this range, this 80, 90 pip range. So we created resistance. This is one of my favorite setups, which is why I took the sell. We create resistance. We have like 80, 90 pip range. Price went down and I closed it. Yeah, now we can see the chart. Please share chart explain that 38 lot size, how you manage the loss, chart not, okay, already talked about that. When you look at the chart and say the price has moved a lot, is there an average number of pips you look to consider it has moved? Yeah, so basically, Maureen, what happens is let's say if there's let's say for example, right over here, right? This candle closed over here, so I'm not going to be taking a buy because it has moved way too much. Okay, let's not look at the pips, but just look at the size of the body, right? Look at this body and look at this body right over here, right? If the stop loss is way too far, it has moved way too much, then I'm not trying to do anything at that point if the stop loss is way too far. So that's what I mean by that, So if it has moved this much, I would want it to, retrace, create some support, and then continue to push up. That's what I would want. I've been focusing on 2 sessions to figure which one is more profitable. I'm currently at break even, any stage. Yeah, so basically the issue you're having is that you have time to trade both sessions and you're just focused on both sessions. I would say just choose one session and just stick with that one session. And just stick with that, and naturally you're going to start to read things better. Nowadays, going a little safe on conservative stop loss, okay, and I target to minimum 1 to 1. And when market goes in my favor, then I close my profit on around 1 to 0.7, 0.8. Yeah, basically it's the same thing we talked about. You're having lack of confidence. So instead of closing the entire trade at 1 to 0.7 or 1 to 0.8, close 80% and leave the rest running. That's all what you have to do. That's it. There's nothing more you have to do. Because that way you will be building confidence. you know. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about building your confidence. Whenever you're trying to let trades run, or whenever you're trying to, like, get antsy about the profits you're in while the trade is still open, you have to build confidence, and you can only build confidence by having smaller lot sizes or letting, like, smaller positions run. Because the more you let smaller positions run, the more you're going to start to say that, oh wow, man, like if I had one lot open and out of that one lot I have 20 cents running now, wow, these 20 cents have ran into some like healthy profits. Then maybe next time, instead of letting 20% run, you're going to leave 50% run, and then sooner or later, you're going to be letting the whole thing run majority of times on Wednesdays or Thursdays. When we are closing 80% in scenarios like this, we should not move. Oh, what's this? What's this? We should not move the stop loss to break even. No, you should move stop loss to break even. Well, it depends. If I'm going to let a position run, and if I'm securing the positions, I will move my stop loss to break even. You know, yeah, I will move my stop loss to break even most of the time. Most of the time, that's what I'm going to do. Like in trading, it's all about these small tweaks, these small, like, improvements you're making. It's just small tweaks. Because if you look at trading as like a big board, on the big board, you have like small knobs that you're changing every time. Instead of closing 100%, you're closing 80%, you're leaving the rest running. Instead of, like, bringing stop loss to break even, and not securing, you're securing 80% and you're bringing stop loss to break even. So you're making these small tweaks. Friday 16th, May 4:30 candle, please explain, send a chart. Send a chart so I can take a look at that, because I'm not gonna go look for May 16, 4:30. No, send a chart. I've observed while taking important impulsive entry after breaks previous candle high, low, it rejects. Do you suggest to manage at that point? It rejects and does what? Rejects and comes towards your entry. Yeah, you can manage. You can manage the trade. You can close like 50% or something like that. But always, whenever you're getting scared, never close the whole trade. Whenever you're getting scared, never close the entire trade. Always close 80%, 70%, and leave the rest running whenever you're getting scared. Because that's the only way you will be dealing with your, fear when you're trying to do those sort of things in the market. Why do you set stop loss so tight? What's the benefit behind it? I don't set my stop loss too tight. I have two plans set up. If the high time frame trend and there's enough range on lower time frame scalp, I usually go for 2 to 1. Amazing. If counter trend, no, that's great. That's amazing. I'm being very disciplined on this month, and this is my current month result. I have make sure all taken trade is valid. Currently in losing trade. What's your advice? Let's take a look at this chart. Okay, wow, look at this. So this is May. $41, negative 41, plus 71, plus 47, 0.8, 0.8, 0.8. Okay. That's fine, to be honest, because this was a little bit of a bigger loss. I don't know why, but your win is like 1%, 1%, 0.6%. Maybe you manage risk over here. 1%, 0.4%. Yeah, it's good. Maybe you need to take a look at these losses and see what the issue was over here. Like, what did you do wrong? Was there something you could have changed? By the way, May has 31 days. Um, that's irrelevant anyway. Got sidetracked. But yeah, just take a look at the loss and see what really happened. What was there something you could have changed? When you put stop loss under current candle and when under previous. Normally, I would always put my stop loss under the previous candle. Only time it's going to be under the current candle. Like, let's say, for example, right over here. Right over here, the stop loss will be below the current candle, not below the previous candle. Not because the stop loss is big, but because if we're breaking above the high with volume to fill the wick, then this candle should not break its own low. If I'm taking a buy, let's say over here, for example, then the stop loss will not be below the current candle. It will be below the previous candle because, it's not that far off. That's why it's going to be there. So that's how I decide. Even like, let's say, for example, when I took this trade, where it go? Hmm. Yeah, even when I took this trade over here, the stop loss was below the current candle and not below the previous candle because it was way too far away. So this is where the stop loss was. So it just depends on how far it is, how more likely is the candle to make a lower wick. I mean, if the stop loss was right over here, and if the candle came down to make a lower wick, then, I would have been stopped out. Let's take a look at this sell over here. So if I'm looking at this sell right over here, right? The stop loss was above the current candle because it already made a top wick. It wasn't above the previous one. It was above the current candle because if it has made a top wick, which means it has made a lower high, and now it's breaking the low to make a lower low, then it should have no business breaking above its own high. So that's how I kind of like, look at my stop losses. Just want to say thank you, Raja. I'm really grateful. Change my trading. I'm doing superb. Good to hear that, brother. Good to hear that. If I'm trading pre-London and London Open and there's only consolidation at that time, should I be done for the day? Yeah. You should be you should be done for the day at that time. Should be genuinely, I would say, done for the day at that time, if there's consolidation at that time. Because not every time your session will have volume, not every time there's going to be volume in that session, let's say London, pre-London or whatever. For 1 to 500 leverage, lot size 0.02 or 0.01. Depends on what your account size is. If your account size is like, let's say, $200, have like a 0.02 lot. Even 0.01 is fine. But at least with 0.02, you can practice risk management, you know. So it's better to have 0.02 rather than 0.01 so you can actually practice managing risk. That's, I think, is the fundamentals of keeping yourself in profits. Because for a long time, you can be stuck at a break-even stage. And the only way to get out of a break-even stage is to make sure your losses are smaller. I haven't been to the gym today. That's why I'm kind of yawning. I'm probably going to go to the gym after this webinar. I'm going to get some pre-workout and going to try to do if I can do some muscle ups today. I think I got it down, the muscle ups. Some people make it look so easy, man. They're like, bro, it's just one pull, boom. No, it's not. How much do you bench? 225. Raja, if the candle breaks high or low first, then makes a top wick, can we keep the stop loss below the previous candle? No, it could be below the current candle. It could be below the current candle because if a candle is, let's say, breaking the low, I mean, I have a very good example for that right here. Yeah, this one right here. This is a very, very good example. Look at this 30-minute here, right? So when you're gonna look at the 30-minute right over here. My squat is like 90 kgs, 100 kgs. I don't go heavy on squats. So if you look at this 30-minute candle, this 30-minute candle broke the low. So now I want you to, so this is the last thing I'm going to explain. So I want you to really understand this from a logical perspective, right? This 30-minute candle, it broke the low of the previous 30-minute candle. So if it broke the low, this means at this point it was a heavy bearish candle. If it broke the low, this means there's a high probability for this candle to continue to push down. But what happens? It retraces and it starts to break the high. So as it's starting to break the high, now in my mind, I'm thinking that, okay, now there's a higher probability for this candle to continue pushing up because if it broke the low for a reason. It broke the low for the reason, and the reason was that we should continue to push down. But it didn't. It reversed and started to break the high, so now there's a high probability for it to continue to push up. Sending charts is not allowed in the chat. Yes, it is. You can send a link. I'm only taking 0 to 2 trades per day, whether win or loss with max risk 5%. Yeah, 5% is a huge max risk 5%. There's a huge improvement in my trading. Wow. Man, if you can manage that 5%, I think that is absolutely wonderful. If you can really manage that at 5%. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna head off. Thank you so much for making the time. I took the trade as you said. Thank you, MFU. Oh, amazing. I took a trade on Friday, captured 180 pips. Wow. Yes, thank you guys. Awesome. 15 significant. See you hold the definitely got psychologically. Yeah, man, like listen, from day number one, I didn't end up getting 60, 70 pips in one trade. I did exactly what I told you. You know, closing 80 to 90% and leave a small portion to see if it continues to run. That's all what I did, honestly. But anyway, take care, guys. The recording will be up later on, and we'll see you guys Monday. Monday
Thanks.
Monday we'll do a stream. Oh yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Appreciate you guys. Awesome. Bye bye.
Adiós.
Adios, amigos.